Going to try and quickly demo the Song of Ice and Fire simulator that I've been working on. This is for the Song of Ice and Fire tabletop miniature war game that I'm a fan of. Anyways, I've been working on this for a while. It's a web-based simulator that you can basically remotely play with one other person to try to get some test games in. I mean, let's be honest, playing in real life is way more fun, but if you're like me, you live in the middle of nowhere, it's kind of hard to get together with people. So this is a good way to be able to test your lists and get some games in remotely before you show up in real life, you know, because it always sucks when you only get to play like once a week, like me, and you show up and you try something experimental and it sucks, and then you got to wait till another week goes by. So anyways, to start, this is a web-based simulator. I've made it specifically in Chrome, so I've done all the testing in Chrome. You're probably going to get the best experience there. Also, this is designed for 1920 by 1080, so the 16:9 aspect ratio. So that's going to be your best play experience. Also, by pressing F11, you'll go into the full screen mode. That's probably the best way to go. So I'm going to go ahead and put in just a room name here. I'm going to go ahead and join and create it. You can also just copy the link at the top too, and use that to send to your buddy and say, hey, like join the game, you know. So just send them the link that way. Anyways, so you'll see we have a battle map here and we have a play area, just kind of like you would in real life again, because the goal is to be a simulator. We also have the tactics board, we have the turn token, and we have the player order token, which is the throne token. We can toggle those using the arrows to switch the turn. We can also just manually change this if we need to. There's also a battle map system built in. You can change the battle map. I have about, I think, 8 battle maps total that you can pick from. And then you can toggle a grid system on and off so that you can get perfect alignment whenever you place a tray, for example. We also have a toggle system for the built-in tray grid system, which allows you to see short range, long range, front line, sight arc, shooting arc, and also movement direction. We also have objectives built in, so I can draw some objectives cards here, and we can quickly look at them, and then we can reveal them if we want to. So this is like you place it on here, then once the game starts, you can reveal them, and then everybody can see what the objective is. But we'll go ahead and put these back real quick. There's also a shuffle system, obviously. Oh, you can also reset the deck too. We also have NCUs, so these have all the cards built in. I spent some time building a card generator, so you can add NCUs into the game. You have your NCU, you can put them onto the zones. I had the zones sideways, but I manually wrote the text here so that you can zoom in and see what each says if you're not familiar with the game. And it also flips if you're on the other side. So if you're on the other side as a player, you'll see it right side up. We also can look at the cards for the NCU here. We can also delete them. We'll go ahead and add it back in. Pretty much everything can be deleted by clicking on it and selecting delete. We can also gain measurements by holding the T key down and just dragging the mouse wherever you, so T and then drag, and then you can get measurements for distances. It's best because of latency and lagging, so that the other person sees how far you're measuring to move your mouse, pause, then drag your mouse, and then pause. It'll just make sure that you're seeing the same alignment and the same distance. We can also put other game objects into the game here. Again, we have like train pieces and other tactic zones and whatever you want to put in here. All objects, again, are selectable. You can rotate them too using Q and E. So you can rotate them that way using Q and E. If you hold down the Shift key while that, you can speed up the rotation. You can also just use the WASD keys to move it. Again, holding Shift to increase the speed and move objects around. For example, if I import water gardens, I'm going to be using it for my deck, and then I'll just go ahead and put that right there. And then, you could drag that over onto there. Outside of that, you can add attachments, obviously, because that's part of the game. But before you do that, you have to add a unit into the game. So we add a unit. And this is the markers that I was showing you. So there's a grid system, so you can see the short range and then also the long range. That's also toggleable for all the units by just hitting that. You can also just hover over them to see it as well. So I'll select it. Again, just like the other objects, I can use WASD to do perfect movement, holding Shift to speed it up. I can use Q and E to rotate. But I've also designed the game to just 100% be clickable with a mouse. So you definitely need a mouse, but you can do everything from a mouse basically. So just using the built-in stuff here, I can rotate, get perfect rotation, and I can get perfect movement based on the direction of the tray, which is important for the game. There's always a card attached to any of the units here, so I can click on that and see the card zoomed in. I can take away wounds. I can set tokens. These are just, I only have tokens for the most common types, but you can see here. And if I'm playing as another player, which that's the hand right here, you can see the other player hand is moving it, because I'm doing that from another screen. They can actually toggle that to, like, you know. Outside of that, we can go ahead and delete units as well, just like we would anything else. So we'll go ahead and put that back in there. And then I can also add an attachment. So I have to select the card or the unit, and then we can add an attachment. So we'll go ahead and add the assault veteran here. So the assault veteran is there, and you can see when you hover over him, if it's not selected, it'll show you where he's attached to. You can also change which slot he's attached to. And of course, sometimes these attachments have their own order, so you would just signify that on the card. And again, that's synchronized between both clients, so both clients should see that. Okay, next up we got color. So you can set your army color. I'm Lannister, so we'll go with a nice, warmer, pink-looking color. Then that'll also change it on your name. And for the other player will see your mouse in that color as well. Yours doesn't change from your side though, the mouse. Outside of that, we also have an import feature, so we can import from A Song of Ice and Fire stats, also from the War Council app. So if you have a list in War Council, you can export it directly into the game, and it should import. I haven't thoroughly tested this, so I'm not 100% sure, especially A Song of Ice and Fire stats, the A Song of Ice and Fire stats website. I've done a minimal testing, and it does work, but there may be things that it's not a perfect import. Outside, there's a save state import. This is all built into this one feature here, and that's by clicking on this save icon. We can also zoom in using the scroll wheel. So if you click on this icon, you click OK, it'll request the server to send you the save state. It's just, I wouldn't really worry about looking at it. You could save it to like a file if you want to. It's again, it's a big giant blob like this. It's actually encrypted data because I don't want you to see certain things server side, like the other player's cards, so you wouldn't be able to decrypt it. But we can take that and we can import it into game and to revert our save game state, because the game, if you don't play, if either you or your opponent play for up to 30 minutes, then you'll disconnect, and then after that 30 minutes, it'll give you 5 minutes to reconnect, and if you don't, then it just deletes the server. So that's why it's important to save your state, and you can do that just by, like, okay, so I already saved it to the board here, so I'm gonna go ahead and delete everything. Again, I can click on like delete, select it, and then press the delete key, and that should delete everything. Oh, well, maybe I need to delete it from the card. Okay, I might have to look into that. Write that down. All right. Anyways, so should work for here though. Yeah. Okay. So now that I've changed some things, let's go even change some more things here. I can go back to that save state by just pasting it back in here, selecting which set of data from the save you want to play as. In this case, I'm going to do player 1. So again, it just reverts the game back to where it was essentially. Then outside of that, we have different languages. So we have English, French, and German. This really only applies to the cards. I don't translate pretty much anything else other than the cards have their own translations. And it doesn't apply until you refresh. So if I did FR and then I reload, then now it should be in French. So we'll go ahead and switch back to English. Well, it would, any new cards that were added, if you had changed the language, it would do that. Outside of that, we have a help, which just gives you some basic details. I'll have to expand this in the future with images. Otherwise, we do have a simulator log. So if you're playing with somebody random online that you don't trust 100% fully, there's a complete log of not everything, but most of the important stuff So again, like toggling tokens on and off, and there's a timestamp. It says player 1 or player 2. It'll also show their name if they have their name set. Again, which is another option here. So, there I set my name, and that would reflect for the other player. So if we have the other player set their name, it should reflect as well. And if they were to set their color, let's go with like a blue, then it should reflect in any units that they add. So like if I were to put my own Lannister guardsmen from this side into the game, it would show up as blue. There's also built-in history too. So let's say you moved this and you're like, oh crap, I didn't want it to move it there. You just select it and press the R key. And that's for most objects. So, well, I didn't really move this one too much, but so if you select it, move it, select off, you can press the R key. It'll remember the last object that you had selected, and then it'll revert it to its last position. So if I did, there we go, it'll kind of revert it. This is only client side, so it's if you refresh your page, you lose your history. I may change that in the future, but as of right now, it's just only client side, so just don't refresh your page or make any big mistakes there. Okay, outside of that, there's a tape measure. I already mentioned that, holding down the T key and stretching. There's tape measures built into the trays itself as they're moving, so you don't need to manually measure every single time. You just measure it, and it gets pretty close. I try to get pixel perfect dimensions, exact aspect ratios to fit to the grid size. So it's going to be very close. I'm not going to say it's absolute, but it's going to be pretty darn close. I meticulously went through and measured everything as best I could. So it should be fairly accurate. And again, we have the grid system. So like, let's say we're going to start all our units off at 10 inches. So you would just, do that, and then you can kind of get it up on the line. All right, next thing, we got a user interface panel here. This is for the tactics cards and the mission cards and dice. So we'll start off with dice. We have plenty of dice here. Just like we would in the game, there's really only a D6 and a D3. So in this case, let's say you're taking a panic test. You can add 3 dice to the game here, and then you use this as your D3. And then you would use these other two as the other regular D6s. So in this case, if I rolled a 7, I probably passed for most units. But if I had failed, I would have taken 3 wounds. You can also select on the individual dice and re-roll them. So like, let's say I had a panic token. All right, well, go ahead and re-roll that 6 and 2. Okay, so now I failed. That sucks. And I lose 2 wounds. So I can select those, delete it. There's also built-in dice history. Now the dice history, because of how important dice are in the game, is saved server side, and it's also stored in the log too. So it has up to the last 20 dice rolls built in, or the last 20 dice states rather. And so it's just a good way to keep track. If you make a mistake, you can go back and revert. If you're the other player, again, you can go to the log and you can see what important events were done. You can see the dice rolls are here. Again, that's just, the log's really just there to keep honest people honest, you know what I mean? And then outside of this, you can also click these values down here. So like, let's say I rolled this and it was on the charge and I was hitting on a 4+, I could just select these and then just re-roll them. And then, okay, so then I would take these away, we'll delete that, and that's how many dice I have. You can also just take it away like that, but probably just click and delete is the best way to go. But this also reflects server side. So I'll go ahead and roll from the other player. When you're in the UI menu, you can actually see where the mouse is for the other player in the UI. So if they're clicking on their own dice, for example, so we're going to have them add some dice. They're going to go ahead and roll. They're going to go ahead and click on some of the dice and then roll. Roll, and we can see the rolls that they're making. We can see where they're clicking. We can see all that. Outside of that, there's a tactics system, so we can, again, most of this game, I'm not doing strict rules checking for the game. There's some implied, what you're doing. For example, if I click on Bolton, it actually allows you the NCUs. Because I'm trying to build the game to be very dynamic, and there's some arbitrary rules that I don't care about. So you'll need to, make sure you're picking the right commander. So there's little names here. So if I was Bolton neutral versus Bolton, part of the actual Bolton house, I would select that. But let's go ahead and do Baratheon. We'll go ahead and Courtney Penrose. We'll select him, and now we have our tactics cards, and we can play the tactics cards, and we can discard the tactics card. Oh, there's also a zoom. Uh, so if you use the mouse wheel, you can zoom, and then you can drag around to get around on the map here. Zoom out using the mouse wheel. Um, so if I have a discard, I want to sort through my discard, I can expand it, kind of see what's in here. You can click on it too, and there's several options again. So there are tooltips here. So a lot of things do have tooltips on them. So if you just hover, it'll tell you what you can add or what you can do with it. So in this case, I put it back in my hand. I can put it into play. I can reveal this from my hand. So if I was, yeah, let me go ahead and set from the other side here. So if they were playing Bolton and they drew some cards, they could reveal it. Because there are some cards that allow you, like, hey, look at the tactics cards. Look at your opponent's tactics cards. So, like, if you got to look at their hand or something, you could, you could reveal it. That's what you needed. And then you can put it into play. You can unreveal these, and then you can put it back onto the deck. You can shuffle the deck. You can, oh yeah, put it into the game as well. So if I wanted to, I could play, and then I could put the tactics card into the game because maybe uh, the Night's Watch, for example, have a lot of cards that allow you to attach to unit. So in that case, I would probably just do something like this. I'd insert it into the game and just kind of overlay it on the unit just to kind of keep track of where it's at. And then in this case, I could look at the card and see what it says, and then, or if I want to, I can put it back into the discard pile here. So, and there it is. Outside of that, we have the mission deck, so I can shuffle it, I can draw, I can uh, expand it to look at it, I can put it into play, I can put it into discard, and I can put it into, back on the deck, but I can also put it into the world. Which this should be revealed. I'll have to check into that, but should be easy to fix that. But other than that, I think that's it. Hmm. I think, yeah, that's it. So this is the new simulator. I hope you guys are going to like it. It's probably some bugs in it. I just kind of finished it literally today, so hopefully it'll be good and provide more options for people to game and get their Game of Thrones fix in. So thanks, bye.